The Kansas Jayhawks survive a cyclone invasion up in Ames, Iowa this weekend, defeating the Iowa State Cyclones 28-21. And on today's episode of the KC Sports Authority podcast, we are going to recap this game and look ahead to the rest of the season.
Hey, what's good, y'all? It's your boy JD6 here with my man. Shout out to KC Sports Authority. Make sure y'all go check that podcast out, man.
You heard the man.
And welcome into the KC Sports Authority podcast. I'm your host, Keegan Russell. With me, of course, my partner in crime, JB Merker, but also got another guest with us today whom you guys have never seen. His name is Derek Ho, another big KU football fan. We've had the chance to talk a little bit over the summer, met a few months ago, and wanted to bring him on just to share another fan perspective. But fellas, how are we doing on another victory weekend of KU football? 7-2 heading into the week. It's a good weekend for Kansas athletics.
Dude, it's amazing. It's been probably the best weekend that we can ask for from a KU perspective. And man, to just keep racking up all the accolades that we haven't done since 2008 is just always going to put a smile on my face. So very happy to come away with that win. And gosh, we're just on an upward trajectory. So, but yeah, Derek, how do you feel?
I feel amazing. I think everyone had their doubts going to Ames. Obviously, tough environment to play, but I mean, KU showed up. Jason Bean showed out. I mean, what a response! On both ends. Obviously, special teams. We'll probably go over that, but other than that, hey, got the W. That's all that matters.
That is all that matters, is that W. Before we get into the breakdown of this game, though, just a quick reminder, not only are we in football season, but we are also at the start of Kansas basketball season. We've got 2 episodes for you here on YouTube as well as over on Spotify, 2 season preview episodes. The first one here, if you haven't had a chance, go check it out. This is kind of a quick overview. Well, I wouldn't say quick, an overview of the season, diving into the roster, some of the games on the schedule, preseason accolades, overall expectations. And then the second one just posted yesterday, and that is a dive into the actual lineups and projections as well as the minute rotations. So Spencer, JB, and I in that one broke down our starting lineups, where the minutes are coming from, who's going to fill what role, some of the statistical opportunities each guy have, who's going to lead us in scoring, what are the rotations Bill Self's going to throw out there, and who are some of the guys on the bench that are going to become trustworthy down the stretch. So go check out both of those over on YouTube, because by the time you guys hear this, it'll also be game day for college basketball with the Kansas Jayhawks ready to start off the season Monday night. So go check those out if you have it. But like we said, this one is about KU football. KU wins 28-21. Jason Bean delivers yet again, back-to-back weekends stepped up. Had a huge game, a lot of very impactful throws throughout this game. I don't know how KU was a underdog heading into this matchup. We talked about in our preview, JB, that there was not much about this Iowa State offense that really got us excited or worried or nervous or anything. They ran the ball relatively effectively, moved the ball down the field later in the game. But this was not a team that I was that worried about offensively as we saw the game go. There really wasn't a lot of anything that Iowa State was doing to get in this game. But just kind of take me through, guys, what are some of the things that stood out to you about this victory? Who impressed you the most? I mean, obviously, I think it starts with another Mello Dotson pick 6, back-to-back weekends. That's now tied for a Kansas record for most pick 6s in a season and a career. Unfortunately, he did get hurt later in the game, and hopefully all is well there. And we saw him walk off the field, so that's a good sign. And nothing else has been said of his injury yet, but hopefully he'll be okay. But yeah, guys, take me through this victory. What stood out to you?
Okay, so I'll start us off by saying I was wrong. I tried to make a very specific prediction in our preview episode when I said, oh, yeah, Kobe Bryant, he's going to make this awesome big play, pick 6, third quarter. I was trying to be super specific. Didn't happen, but the game didn't go necessarily the way that I thought it would. I thought it'd be a little.
Hey, you
closer.
got it right. Just wrong player.
wrong. Yeah, sure, and wrong quarter, but I think right. Yeah, it wasn't the third quarter.
I think he said it was going to be third quarter that the pick six
Yeah,
would happen. It was first quarter.
look, you guys, sometimes you say something in a podcast and you just take a little mental note, and then when it happens, you're just like, I'm throwing up a reel right now. I was right. They're going on Twitter. I I was wrong. But no, it was a good game because we really controlled the tempo. I know that's something that we wanted to be prepared for, that, hey, we're on the road and we got to play a little bit better than we have in previous games on the road, and we certainly did. I was thinking halfway through the game, I'm looking at this like, we don't look like we're nervous. We don't look like we are scared, intimidated. And we were kind of playing like it was a home game for us. So I was really, really proud of our guys. I think from a gameplay perspective, I was extremely proud of Jason Bean. I thought he stepped up in the passing game like we've never seen him step up before, because he was looking like, I'm going to say a name, maybe it's because I'm wearing my Chiefs hat, but he was looking like Patrick Mahomes at some times during that game. And don't clip this and say I'm wrong, because if you watch that game, he was moving around in the pocket. He would escape and he would throw the ball just before he gets back to the line of scrimmage, just like we've seen Patrick Mahomes do so many times. I'm like, who am I watching right now? I think it's been a couple weeks of increasing confidence just every single game that he plays, and it really, really showed against Iowa State. So, Derek, I don't know if you saw the same thing, but yeah, what'd you think?
Yeah, just the decision making was a lot better. It was very decisive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there were a couple plays, where he could have ran for a first down, could have thrown away, but
always.
Other than that, I mean, it was great. I mean, KU was 6 for 13 on third downs. On the first drive, I mean, on the road, you want to get off to a good start. And when you get that first third down, you want to convert it, right? You want to keep the chains moving. Yeah. You don't want to give the ball back to the offense, to the opposing offense. And yeah, I mean, even though KU didn't get their running game going very much, they had success in the run game when it mattered. They scored the 2 touchdowns, and late game execution was the big thing that stuck out to me. I mean, you get the ball back, and there was under 5 minutes left. I mean, it's 4-minute offense time, and they got the job done. So I mean, I think those 2 things, third downs and late game execution, and the response, obviously, right? So they get it within, Iowa State gets it within 3. And, I mean, what a response by the offense. What a play call. Execution was just perfect.
That was a beautiful, beautiful third down throw to Lawrence Arnold over the middle.
That was third down? Oh, I was going to say.
I think it was. I might be wrong on the down, but just beautiful. Toss it over, timed it perfectly. LJ catches it, ditches the defender, walking in, touchdown. Man, that was pretty. Well executed play. I know we've talked about this for several weeks now. The more confidence Jason Bean gets in himself, I think the better the decision making has been. I've been super critical all year, and I'm going to continue to be critical. I think that's our job as fans, is to be critical, because as much as there were a lot of great things in that game, we still have to draw attention to the poor things. And I think even Coach Leipold said it in some of the pregame about some of the things Jason still needs to work on. He said some of it is the decision-making, which Jason knows. But this was a game where he'd stepped up again in the passing game when he needed to. I thought the offensive game plan was fantastic, getting him mobile and moving. Didn't take off to run as much as I thought he could have, but he seems to make better decisions when he gets outside the pocket and can kind of move around with his feet and see the field. A lot of big-time throws, as we kind of talk about him versus Jalen Daniels, very different play style, but Jason, he can throw the ball down the field, and he might be an even better down the field thrower than Jalen does. Jalen doesn't have to throw things down the field as much because everyone's so worried about him taking off that he gets to the intermediary stuff. But all around, great offensive game. I think several different receivers had big time plays. You know, we've mentioned it multiple times. Quinten Skinner, that guy just has a knack for going and getting the ball downfield. He gets open, he gets separation. There were, I think, a couple third down catches he had in this game, and of course, the one where he's fallen and hauls it in was incredible. He just, every game he makes a play like that down the field. And it's just crazy to think this guy's going from walk-on to scholarship player to one of the most effective receivers we have in the offense and a go-to guy down the field now on third down. So I just thought it was an overall impressive game. There were a few things here and there where we let Iowa State back in the second half when we probably shouldn't have. Couple poor decision making here and there, a couple plays go the wrong way. But let's talk about that run game though, because Derek, you said it. We struggled a little bit there. We ran the ball effectively when we needed to, but overall, KU held to 74 rushing yards. And we talked about this on the preview that Iowa State had the third best rushing defense in the Big 12, and that they've done a very good job limiting rushers. And they did that pretty effectively. Devin Neal's longest run of the day was 9 yards. He averaged only 2.7 yards a carry on 21 carries for 57 yards. But again, like you said, we got the run plays we needed and the time we needed them. Devin Neal gets the 2 touchdowns. So we had, and even though Bean didn't throw for a lot of touchdowns, he threw for 287 yards on 23 attempts, 14 for 23. But the stat I liked about that is he was averaging 12 and a half yards of completion. So the ball was moving down the field. Of course, you get Arnold for the 80-yard bomb. That definitely juices that stat a little bit. But Quinten Skinner had a couple 20-plus yard catches. Doug Emillion had that nice catch down the field late in the game on the left-hand side. Tanaka Scott to start the game had a big play. Of course, Luke Grimm again on third down gets a big time catch going out of bounds. Hits Mason Fairchild again when he needed to. I just thought Jason Bean's performance offensively was pretty solid. As I'm looking at the rest of the statistics of this game, looking over at Iowa State now, we talked about how Rocco Becht was not that great of a quarterback. Freshman, makes a lot of poor decision making, throws interceptions, not a great completion percentage. His QBR wasn't that great in this game, but he went 20 for 26. And I think after halftime, he went like nine passes in a row with a completion or something. But he only finishes with 216 yards. And of course, the big time pick 6 by Dotson. But I also thought KU's defense did pretty solid overall. They forced a lot of pressure, made them uncomfortable. Run game, there were a couple plays here and there that jumped out to big yardage. But overall, I thought this was just an effective game, both sides of the ball, offense and defense, that the defensive line, do what they do best and get to the backfield. Although it wasn't necessarily the guys that we've been seeing with Austin Booker and Jeremy Robinson, but Craig Young gets in there for a half a sack. Caleb Taylor had that big time sack late in the game. Rich Miller, of course, another big time play. But talk to me guys about the defense. What did you guys see that impressed you about this defense and how they contain the run game, especially coming off of a couple of games where we gave up a lot of yardage to the backs?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think we did a really good job on our scouting report, and we prepared for every situation. In some ways, we're always trying to be the stressful offense for people to prepare for. I think we showed why we can be a stressful defense for people to prepare for, because we were on top of it. I think we did a good job of reading the eyes of the quarterback. We were pressuring, and this is stuff that you're not always going to notice, but I think we're pressuring in the sense of we were having good coverage on the receivers. We were taking away options in key moments, and we were locked in. So I'm looking at that kind of like, I wouldn't say, I don't know if it was our best defensive performance of the entire season, but I think it was up there when you really look at every play and you look at the options that they could have had, and we just took everything away. So I'm looking at this game as near perfection almost in some aspects. It was certainly a good one.
Derek, what about you? What did you notice about this defense?
Yeah, just going off of what JB said. I mean, I'm looking at 7 TFLs. That was huge. Making Rocco Becht having Rocco Becht, face second and long, right? And, having him have to throw the ball and having to make a decision on the fly. That Craig Young, I believe he deflected that ball in the end zone in the third quarter when they were driving. I mean, what a huge play. It broke up, Beck's streak of was it 9 straight or 10 straight in the second half? I mean, what a play. So, I mean, yeah, I think I just in the first half, obviously shut them down. And with Dotson with the pick 6 and, the sacks just rattling him. But yeah, I mean, hey, Rocco and the offense, they adjusted. They moved him around in the pocket, right? And he was able to scramble and keep plays alive. But overall, the defense did really well, and they forced Iowa State to make obviously make that mistake. And
Sure,
it was did they slip up? Of course, but they did enough to win the game. And just overall, I mean, the defense has been such a sore spot, right, on the team, right? First year, Lance Leipold, they gave up 40 points a game. Last year was 35. And this year, lo and behold, I think it's like 27 a game.
Yeah, I think after this game, they were averaging, I think, 27.5 coming into this game, and now that's obviously pulled down a little bit. But yeah, they've gotten better week by week.
Right.
I think one of the nice things I noticed in this game, I'm sorry not to cut you off there, but just thinking about the defense, you lose Dotson, which that's a big time loss there defensively. Him and Kobe Bryant have been just anchors on each side of the field. And of course, another game where I don't even think there was a single pass attempt to the guy Kobe was guarding. If I might be wrong on that, I know he was in on a couple plays tackle wise. There might be 1 or 2 completions, but I think it's now gone like 3 games in a row where he's given up 13 yards total because teams just aren't targeting him. But after Dotson went out, I think that's when you started to see their offense step up a little bit. We go to Quinten last year. Last year got burned a couple times for some big chunk plays. But the defense has been, I think, more of a bend but don't break type defense. And we knew going in this game, Iowa State was not a great third down efficiency team. They were like 35% conversion. They can convert half of their third downs in this game, but I think a good chunk of those were late in the second half when the game was still mostly out of reach. I know they were kind of coming back, but all in all, I think solid game around both offense and defense. But like you mentioned earlier, special teams, even though this was a win and we always take the win, special team woes came back up again in this. You've got 2 missed field goals. Now, granted, the second field goal, it was a long one, about 50-yarder, but it was nowhere close. Seth Keller misses one. Punt coverage gives up a big return. You get some penalties. How worried are you guys that the special teams woes are going to bite us in some bigger matchups down the stretch?
I'm very worried, and I've been worried, and I've said on this podcast, Seth Keller he has the tendency to kick balls very low, and now he's at this point where he's just not very accurate. If you go out beyond 40 yards, it's good. You don't even kick the field goal. Try to go for it on 4th down. You won't lose anything by going for it on 4th down. At least you won't lose anything you would have lost going for a kick. Seth Keller started out the year as a breath of fresh air from Borchilla. Like he was hitting everything. And it was like, okay, good. This kid can make these field goals. And again, he was kicking these balls very low. And I was like, oh, it looks like they might get blocked. And then now here we are. He has had blocked kicks. He has had big misses from honestly not too far out. I mean, KU's never had maybe an elite kicker. I don't know. You can tell me if we've had elite kickers in the past, but we've certainly had guys that can be relied upon between 40 and 50 yards out almost all the time. And I think we need a change. I was tweeting out, and I'm sorry, I don't know. Maybe Keller's going to have a big game, and I'm going to have to fill out an apology form for him, like a lot of people are filling out apology forms for Jason Bean on Twitter. Maybe that happens. But I'm ready for a change. I'm ready for a change at our place kicker. That 50-yard miss by our backup, I'm not even going to fault that. That was 50 yards away, and he's a backup. But honestly, give him a couple more shots at it, probably would make it. Keller would have no chance every single time.
Well, I think
I'm just
one
over
thing
it.
I will say, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Iowa State's got a different type of field, more of a grassy field, and we saw several guys slip. Devin Neal slipped, Jason Bean slipped on a play, so maybe some of that factored in. But I was watching our kicking versus their kicking, and ours were not line drives. I know their kicker obviously gets a kick there all the time, but the several kicks that they put up, they were line drives right down the middle, and ours they were like squibbly, wobbly, off to the side. And so I wonder how much of that is just playing on a different type of field, how much that might impact it. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt there, but definitely need to get that cleared up because we've got a couple big time matchups still left down the season, and especially if we want to find ourselves still in a Big 12 championship appearance. I'm not too worried. I think the big thing is I like seeing Luke Grimm back there. He's either going to let the ball bounce and just get field position, or he's just going to fair catch it. I'm not really interested, and I think we see this at the NFL a lot too. I'm not really interested in let's try and run something back inside the 20-yard line. Just freaking catch the ball, give it to the offense, and let's get going. Too many times you see the guy that wants to try and make a play, and then what do you know? He gets stopped. So I'm not too worried. I think they will get that stuff cleaned up. They've got a couple home games. That 2 of the last 3 games on the year are home games, and of course they're always better at home. So I'm not too worried there. But Derek, as we kind of slowly wrap things up here, just take me through the season as a fan. The highs and lows you've experienced. The Jalen Daniels, the Jason Bean experience. Sitting here at 7-2 with just a few games left, where are you sitting as a fan of the team, and how are you feeling coming down the stretch with the final games coming up?
I mean, I don't think it really matters to me now what happens. 7-2, it's already been a dream season. You can always, obviously there's been zero expectations for so many years, and when Leipold comes in, completely rebuilds the whole program. Yeah, you only get 2 wins, but one of them was against Texas, so that was a massive success. Then year 2, you get to the bowl game. And so it's just this. I mean, there's so much enthusiasm, within the program, within the school, obviously with the stadium renovations and whatnot. And so, just as a fan, it's just unbelievable to witness this. And now 7-2 with, like you said, 2 out of the last 3 games at home. And that second one that's looming. I mean, that's a massive game. So I think. I mean, it's been great. It's been wonderful to watch. And yeah, have there been some painful moments? Yes. But there's pain for, a decade and a half. So, I mean, it's just wonderful to watch the program literally, rise again. So, who knows what'll happen in the next three games. And
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to the second of it.
We certainly have a chance at going 10-2. We're undefeated at home, right? We have, I think, gosh, it's at Cincinnati would be our last game, and Cincinnati's awful this season. So even though that's a road game, I'm not really worried about that. I'm not worried about Tech. They've been underperforming all season. And K-State, hate to admit it, still kind of a scary one. But I did say previously, well, now that we've beaten Oklahoma, we can beat anybody, and I still stand by that. But yeah, man, Derek, my question for you though is you kind of alluded to it, but are you saying you wouldn't be sad at all if we lost our remaining games, or here's an even follow up question: is if we lose our bowl game, are you upset? I mean, could we redeem everything if we get a bowl game win, even if we take some losses? I mean, ideally for you, where do you see the rest of the season going?
I did tweet out. I did I didn't predict this, but I was like, can we be 8-2 before the K-State game? And that's a very distinct possibility. So
Oh yeah.
I mean, I would be very sad if we lost these last 3 games. I don't expect KU to. I mean, I is 10-2 reasonable? Why not? Really, why not? And if they
Blows my
lose
mind.
their bowl game, I'm okay with that. I mean, 10-2. I mean, going from 0 to 2 to 6 to 10. I mean, that trajectory is unheard of.
Yeah.
And only a very few coaches can pull that off. And Kansas is so lucky to have a coach that's stuck to the program, and now look where we are. So, I think what was the over under 6.5 at the beginning?
Yeah,
Of the
6.5. Yep, we're already over that.
So
I
think it's already a successful season.
I hopped on a Twitter Spaces with Jayhawk Talk and everybody I think it was last night, and we were we were talking about just the way that we can finish out this season, and I was like, you guys, I mean, yeah, 10-2 is definitely a major possibility. If we go 10-2, that means we would have beaten K-State, and all of a sudden we would be looking at a year where we've beaten Oklahoma. We sent them packing out of the Big 12 with a loss to us. We have won our home game, our homecoming game, and spoiled someone else's homecoming game in Iowa State. We would have beaten K-State, and gosh, now I'm looking at 10-2 bowl game. Obviously, we're going to get one. And how cool would it be if it was against Mizzou, and then we could beat Mizzou? I mean, I think
scared,
that's
man.
possible.
They'll find a way to get out of that game still.
They can't do it 2 years in a row.
It is crazy that both teams could be. I know Mizzou lost, but both teams as top 20 teams in the country. K-State not too far off there. But yeah, KU, there is a decent chance KU Mizzou could find themselves in a bowl matchup coming down the stretch, depending on how they finish. I think what's different for KU though is the fact that we're still sitting here at 7-2, just like we said last week's after Oklahoma game. KU's still in the driver's seat to find themselves in the Big 12 championship. They still need a couple things to break their way. They've got Oklahoma State tied with them, and of course Oklahoma State has the tiebreaker. So they still need a couple things to happen coming down the stretch here. I'm sorry, Oklahoma State's 5-1. I said that wrong. But Texas and Oklahoma State at the top, Kansas at 4-2 with like 6 other teams in the Big 12, it feels like. But they still have an outside shot if they can win out. And the thought I keep having is if they were to win out, and I know that's still 3 big games left, that really puts into perspective how frustrating that Oklahoma State loss was. Because if you could go 11-1 in this season, you're a top 10 team in the country, I think, at that point, or top 12, with an outside look at winning the Big 12, potentially probably not getting a college football playoff spot, but that final college football playoff ranking, you might be a top 10 team heading into the offseason, heading into next year, where you still get most everyone back. So it's been an incredible ride. And of course, as Jayhawk fans, we should be satisfied with what we've accomplished so far. But Leipold said it this last week on Monday's press conference. Hey, what you guys did this weekend was fantastic, and that's great, and we celebrate it. But we've got another game in front of us, and whatever happened before us, forget, move on. Let's focus on what's ahead. So even though it's been a great 7-2 season so far, none of what we've already done matters. It's all about the game in front of us. And of course, we got Texas Tech this upcoming weekend, and then K-State and Cincinnati. And of course, we'll have some game previews later in the week to preview some of that. But Derek, thanks for joining us on this one. Glad to have another fan's perspective. Anything else you guys want to touch on before we get out of here?
I think I'm set.
No, I'm good. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome. Well, yeah, guys, that was the recap of KU Iowa State. They survived 28-21 to move to 7-2 on the season, 4-2 in Big 12 play, again with an outside shot at a Big 12 championship. But like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, it is KU basketball season as well. At the time of this, it'll be game day with a matchup against North Carolina Central tonight. So if you haven't taken a chance yet, go back and check out our 2 season preview episodes. I think we had a lot of fun diving into the what if scenarios and the roster projections and the minutes. the expectations, all of that. Go check that out over on YouTube. As far as the rest of the podcast, we thank you guys for joining us and supporting us so far. If you haven't done so yet, please take that half a second to hit that subscribe button. I'm loving seeing the support we're getting and the growth we're having over the last several months. So go check us out on YouTube and Spotify. You can also hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at KCSA Pod. That's going to do it for this one. And like we end every episode, thank you guys, and rock chalk.
Rock chalk.